Aboriginal Standards. It's Angela speaking.
Angela, John Brown here.
Oh, John, how are you going?
I'm okay. I'm okay for the moment.
John Pollard just said to me, asked me to ring you.
Yes. I'm a survivor of clergy abuse.
Right.
And I'm
Are you with the police?
The case is historic and the abuser is dead, so there's little that they can do in that regard. Yeah. I have attempted to deal with the Melbourne process, and I found that incredibly harmful and damaging, personally damaging. And I find it all but...
Was the abuse by a Melbourne priest?
That's right, by Kevin O'Donnell.
Oh, right. Right. Do you realise that through Towards Healing, we cannot deal with the Melbourne process, that they need to go through the Melbourne process?
Unfortunately, that's what I have encountered.
Right.
And
our hands are tied.
Right. As
yes.
It is a damaging process, and it is a terribly dysfunctional process. And I had hoped to find a different avenue through that.
Right. I wish I could help you, John, in terms of we are not in a position to deal with cases by Melbourne priests. I am really sorry about that. How far, you said it was a damaging process.
Yes.
Did you meet...
I've met with Peter O'Callaghan, yes.
Right.
And I've also had the unfortunate thing of dealing with Kathy and Susan Sharkey.
All right.
In that process. And there's quite a story of which I have well documented. And I've been deemed argumentative, I've been deemed whatever, that they will not deal with me. And I can show you, I can provide you with the recording of conversations that will show you why they deemed me that way.
Right.
Right. Now, that makes it impossible for me to deal appropriately with them, and all it does is it leaves me very, very angry.
Look, John, I totally understand that, and, you know, in no way am I doubting that you have been abused by Kevin O'Donnell and that you have been to the Melbourne process. I'm racking my brains to see in what way I would be able to help.
Okay. If I could give you a forum to speak out on the matter, would you be willing to do that?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well,
so explain.
It's generally most of these type of situations are they don't get any action until they're in the open, in the public area, and where they're discussed, I suppose, by the public. It seems that this is one of the few ways that the church is able to stand and have...
Hopefully, through Towards Healing, where we are able to act, we don't wait until it has to go public, because I think that can be difficult for all people. I have no problem if things go public, because, you know, there's every right that people have to go public.
What I'm trying to get at is you and I both understand that the Melbourne process is harmful and damaging to people. It has caused suicides, and it has caused attempted suicides. And we have the spin machine of the Archbishop over there saying that they have very, very few complaints. The same processes that have occurred in other very damaging areas around the world. And I understand that there are many people within entities such as yours who have a very solid and sound understanding of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel it's the responsibility of those people to either A, stand and support us survivors in speaking out against what's becoming an atrocity in Melbourne.
I have to say to you, John, that yes, I hear some people like you. I have heard some other people who have found that they have been helped by the Melbourne process. And in my position, it would be very difficult. I need to be able to keep doing what I'm doing within Towards Healing,
mm-hmm.
and helping as many people as I can in that way. Now, I'm in no way denying where you are,
mm-hmm.
but I have to work out, and so when you say providing a forum, I would need to know all sorts of things. I'm certainly not prepared to simply say everything is bad, full stop, for all people.
And I will.
And that's
I will
not what
agree
you're saying?
I'm
right.
not saying that.
Right.
I do know of people who have gone through, quote, successfully through the system.
Right.
And have survived it.
Yes.
I don't know too many who have gone through it and come out the other side and say it was successful.
Right.
I have to admit that I don't have personal contact with anyone in that particular position. But I have.
And I don't know, because I'm not involved, and I'm very careful not to get involved because I need to make sure I don't jeopardize what I can do in other areas. I don't know all the details of the Melbourne system.
This I don't think is necessary. I think what is necessary is to know that there are serious complaints about its operation and how it treats and deals with people. That's a human rights issue, really.
Right.
It's beyond that. When it comes down to people taking their lives and people being re-traumatized repeatedly and knowingly, then they are serious human rights breaches.
Yes.
And I believe that it becomes a case of either, if you are in that same area
mm-hmm.
and of dealing with people in another facet, then I believe that it's complicity to remain silent and not speak out. Because
maybe there are other things I can do rather than it depends. And you would also find people who would say about Towards Healing that they have been re-traumatized. However hard we try,
mm-hmm.
You will get people who say that. So I don't think I can accept that I am complicit in what's happening.
Silence is the same as complicity. That's been the case since Nuremberg trials, in modern day understanding. And that nothing I say can change that. The fact is, Angela, you and I are aware of those circumstances. and we're aware that it's going to cost more people's lives if we fail to find a means to either get dialogue going or get a change in the process somewhere along the line. And that has not been able to be done directly with the Melbourne process, part of the Catholic Church, and so here I am knocking on your door. It's via another facet of the Catholic Church to say, here is a problem, and we can both recognise that there are problems there. And I'm saying it's a serious human rights problem that not only your area of the church, but many, many other areas of the church need to stand up and address, that publicly speak out on all areas of life. And yet we hear nothing from church entities as to their position on the sexual abuse issue of children and the restoration of survivors. Bodies like
a number of times have heard me on the radio on speaking out about sexual abuse of children.
Yes, I understand that. I'm talking about via the Catholic Church.
And
within the Catholic Church.
And within the Catholic Church, and I have been speaking about that for some years.
That's good. That's excellent.
I have often spoken. I have accepted media invitations to speak on those matters. Just the other day, I was on Queensland radio about the Toowoomba case.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar with the Toowoomba case from a different perspective, perhaps, than yourself. I live in Toowoomba.
Right, but I'm just saying to you that, yes, I was on the media about that the other day.
Okay, well then, where is the voice of Australian Catholic Social Justice Council and other bodies? Are they not coordinating on this, or what do how do they perceive the problem then?
I haven't. I don't know the answer to that because I'm busy in the area which I'm doing, so I haven't gone to the Australian Catholic Social Justice Council. But certainly, I am sure they would.
That, and there would be other bodies. You're aware that many survivors, and I can provide names of those, are simply unable to access support through the Melbourne system, yet publicly they state that there is support, and we know that some people can avail themselves of support and others can't. So there's discrimination of some sort happening there.
Well, I'm not aware of, that some can and some can't.
Well, I can make you aware of that.
No, well, I hear you saying that.
Okay. I just find the position I find myself in and the position I see others in for similar reasons to be absolutely abhorrent, and to be able to attempt to make a different contact through the Catholic Church and to not be able to progress that, I find that's where that is a failure. I can't. It can't be anything else, can it?
I am trying, as I told you, I was thinking about what avenues I have in which I can raise these matters, and
I appreciate that.
I can do so through speaking with the National Professional Standards Committee
Now, I appreciate that. There is one nuance of my experience that might have an issue with that. And that's the fact that my ex-wife is related to the Bishop of Toowoomba, who sits at the head of that body, and I am aware of the fact that I don't trust the man, and of his history in relation to my ex-wife and her family.
Yeah, just a minute.
So for that reason, I would find that professional.
You don't wish that to happen,
well,
right?
I'm suggesting that it's the wrong place, perhaps, to go, because it does.
I keep telling you, I'm just thinking of looking at ways.
Well, my own case does involve that issue.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate that.
And
all right.
And he sits on the board of the professional standards, so that.
Yes.
The example of that around the world is too often there for me to find it acceptable.
All right. Then you'll need to leave it with me while I give some other thought to what else I can do.
Thanks, Angela.
All right.
Hopefully I'll hear from you soon.
All right. Well, I'll look at that. I mean, that was the obvious one, access that I had.
Yep.
But if that's closed, then it makes it quite difficult for me, as you understand.
Okay.
All right. We both are concerned about abuse, and we're concerned about helping people. And I'm really sorry the Melbourne process isn't working for you. And wish that,
I wish, yes, I do. I wish I go back and I wish that I still had my family and my business, all of which I lost due to this process.
Right.
And much more.
Right.
And much more than that. And to find myself refused a proper forum to be absolute, when I consider my human rights.
What is it, John, that makes them refuse to work with you?
Initially...
Is that a fair question? You don't have to answer.
No. Initially, I began to progress through the Melbourne process.
Right.
And I asked a few questions, of which I got no answers, and I became a bit insistent about that. Although that was later. I was met by Peter O'Callaghan, and he assessed me and recommended that he would expedite my case through the system. Now, this was in 2004 or 5. I can't recall the particular year. And I was to then meet with Susan Sharkey. Now, that took some 9 months or something, and she came to Toowoomba. In that meantime, I'd learnt a few bits and pieces about how the Melbourne process operated, and when they wanted to record the conversation, I said yes, that was fine, provided I could record my own copy of it, because they had offered a transcript, which I said I would accept, and we had our meeting, and we had some very, very good discussions in there. Now, they left. That was with Susan Sharkey and with Kathy, I can't recall her last name. She was the bookkeeper or accountant or whatever. And in hindsight, I should have objected very, very strongly to such an unprofessional person being involved in my own personal counselling session. And it was wrong of them to do that. However, the following day, my counsellor received a phone call, and they asked me not to use the recording as it may jeopardise their jobs. Now, part of my meeting, I gave them a letter and a plaque which they promised to forward on to Cardinal Pell. Now, I was offended when the bookkeeper rang and asked me to keep confidential the information that they had disclosed during that conversation. And I said to them that I would like a transcript, as they had agreed to provide one. Mm-hmm. There of the conversation. The letter and the plaque that I had provided them to go to George Pell was returned to me with no covering letter or explanation or anything. And the next time I attempted to contact them in regards my counselling and my needs, I was deemed argumentative, and they refused to deal with me.
Yeah. Doesn't help.
Well, that's been my situation for some years now. And it doesn't, it's entirely unhelpful.
Yes.
And as I say, the cost to me has been quite huge.
Do you have a counsellor up there in Toowoomba?
I have one in Toowoomba. I have need of a different type of counsellor these days. However, I don't have the ability to pay for that.
Right.
And I don't have the means of establishing communication with the CareLink process or with O'Callaghan process in order to get that underway if I wished to do that.
I mean, it would seem to me that it's through Sue Sharkey and CareLink that's where things should be happening.
That's where they should have happened. And, however, I, as a survivor of rape at the hands of Kevin O'Donnell, object to being asked by Susan Sharkey whether the man was circumcised or not. This type of statement is known and identified in much documentation to be a very aggressive and direct attempt to re-traumatise the survivor. Now, my recording of that conversation includes that with Susan Sharkey, along with a range of other statements as well. Now, I know what's on that. They know what's on that, and they they don't want that disclosed, I suppose, is what it comes down to. And I'm not going to go away.
Right. And that's really the place where it needs to be, John.
It is the place where it needs to be. I'm more than happy to debate publicly. I won't engage with them in confidential discussions any longer.
Right.
Because they have breached confidentiality.
Yeah. No, I can understand what you're saying. So I'll keep thinking about what I can do. As I say, the National Professional Standards Committee was the obvious place, but if that's not appropriate, I accept that from you, and we'll need to think further.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you. Bye.